Stop everything you are doing right now. Because I am about to tell you a story that Bruce Lee tried to hide for the rest of his life. In 1964, behind closed doors, with no cameras, no referees, no rules, Bruce Lee fought a fight that almost ended his career before it even started. His opponent, Wong Jack Man, a Shaolin kung fu master, who was sent to destroy Bruce Lee's reputation forever. The fight was supposed to last seconds. It lasted over 20 minutes. And when it was over, Bruce Lee locked himself in his room, refused to speak to anyone, and questioned everything he had ever learned about fighting. What happened in that room? Why did Bruce Lee try to bury this story? And why did this one fight completely transform him into the legend we know today? Stay with me, because this story will change everything you think you know about Bruce Lee. But before I tell you what happened, I need you to understand something. This is not some made-up Hollywood story. This actually happened. There were witnesses. There were consequences. And there are secrets that people have kept hidden for over 50 years. Let us go back to the beginning. San Francisco, 1964. Bruce Lee was not famous yet. No movies. No Enter the Dragon. No Hollywood fame. He was just a 24-year-old martial arts instructor trying to make a name for himself in America. And he was doing something that made a lot of powerful people very angry. He was teaching kung fu to white people. Now, you need to understand how serious this was. In the 1960s, Chinese martial arts were sacred secrets. They were passed down only within the Chinese community. Teaching outsiders was considered the ultimate betrayal. But Bruce Lee did not care. He believed martial arts belonged to everyone. He opened his schools to all races. He taught anyone who wanted to learn. And this made the traditional Chinese martial arts community furious. They saw Bruce Lee as a traitor, a sellout, someone who was disrespecting centuries of tradition for money and fame. And they decided to do something about it. One day, a letter arrived at Bruce Lee's school. The message was simple: stop teaching non-Chinese students or face the consequences. Bruce Lee read the letter. Then, he did something that shocked everyone. He laughed, and he threw the letter in the trash. The elders of Chinatown were not amused. They had given Bruce Lee a chance to back down. He had refused. Now there was only one option left. They would send someone to challenge him. Someone to expose him as a fraud. Someone to destroy his reputation forever. And they knew exactly who to send. Wong Jack Man. Now, I want you to really picture this moment. Bruce Lee was young, arrogant, confident beyond belief. He had never lost a fight in his life. He thought this challenge would be easy. He had no idea what was coming. Wong Jack Man was not your average martial artist. He was a master of northern Shaolin kung fu. He had trained since childhood. His techniques were beautiful, precise, deadly. Where Bruce Lee was aggressive and explosive, Wong Jack Man was calm and flowing. Where Bruce Lee attacked with fury, Wong Jack Man redirected with grace. They were complete opposites. And Wong Jack Man had one advantage that Bruce Lee did not expect. He was not afraid. Most people who faced Bruce Lee were intimidated before the fight even started. His speed, his intensity, his confidence. It all combined to create an aura that made opponents hesitate. But Wong Jack Man did not hesitate. He had been training for this moment his entire life. He believed he was defending the honor of Chinese martial arts, and he was ready to die trying. The stage was set. Two masters, two philosophies, one fight that would change martial arts history forever. The date was set. The location: a small studio in Oakland, California, private, no outsiders, only a handful of witnesses, no rules, no time limit, no gloves, just two men and their fists. Bruce Lee walked into that room expecting an easy victory. What he got was the fight of his life. The moment the fight started, something went wrong. Bruce Lee attacked with everything he had: his famous straight punches, his lightning speed, his explosive Wing Chun techniques. But Wong Jack Man did not crumble. He moved, he dodged, he redirected, and suddenly, Bruce Lee was chasing him around the room. The fight that was supposed to last seconds stretched into minutes. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 5 minutes. Bruce Lee was getting frustrated. He was landing shots too, but not finishing the fight. Wong Jack Man kept moving, kept surviving, kept making Bruce Lee work harder and harder. 10 minutes passed. Bruce Lee was breathing heavy. His arms were tired. His legendary cardio was failing him. This was not supposed to happen. This was not how his fights went. He always won quickly, decisively, dominantly. But Wong Jack Man was still standing. Finally, after what witnesses say was over 20 minutes, Bruce Lee cornered Wong Jack Man and unleashed a furious combination that ended the fight. Wong Jack Man went down. Bruce Lee had won. But he did not celebrate. He stood there, gasping for air, drenched in sweat, looking at his hands like he did not recognize them. Something was very wrong. Now here is the part that nobody talks about. What happened after the fight is more important than the fight itself. Because what Bruce Lee did next changed martial arts forever. After the fight, Bruce Lee went home. He locked himself in his room. He refused to eat. He refused to talk to his wife Linda. He just sat there, in silence whole, for hours. What was going through his mind? He had won the fight. But in his mind, he had lost everything. The fight had taken over 20 minutes. 20 minutes against one opponent. No referee breaks, no rounds. Just continuous combat, and Bruce Lee, the greatest martial artist alive, had almost run out of gas. If the fight had gone longer, he might have lost. If Wong Jack Man had been slightly faster, slightly stronger, slightly more aggressive, Bruce Lee might have been exposed as a fraud. Everything he had built, his reputation, his schools, his dreams of Hollywood, it could have all ended in that small room in Oakland, and Bruce Lee knew it. He had discovered a terrifying truth about himself. His Wing Chun training had limits. His conditioning was not good enough. His techniques took too long to finish fights. And if he did not change, he would eventually lose to someone. What happened next is the most important part of this story. Most fighters would have made excuses. They would have said the opponent got lucky. They would have blamed the circumstances. They would have moved on and pretended nothing happened. Bruce Lee did the opposite. He looked at himself in the mirror and admitted the truth. He was not good enough. Not yet. And he decided to rebuild himself from the ground up. He started training differently. He added Western boxing combinations to his arsenal. He studied Muhammad Ali's footwork. He analyzed fencing techniques for speed and timing. He developed brutal conditioning routines. Running, jumping rope, heavy bag work. He trained his cardio like a professional boxer. He stripped away techniques that looked beautiful but did not work in real combat. He kept only what was effective, only what was efficient. He started writing down his philosophy. Take what is useful. Discard what is useless. Add what is specifically your own. This was the birth of Jeet Kune Do. Not in some peaceful moment of meditation. Not from ancient wisdom passed down by masters. It was born from failure, from fear, from a fight that almost destroyed Bruce Lee, and instead transformed him into a legend. Think about this for a moment. If Bruce Lee had won that fight easily, if he had knocked out Wong Jack Man in 30 seconds like he expected, would he have ever changed? Would he have ever created Jeet Kune Do? Would he have become the legend we know today? Probably not. That 20-minute fight was the best thing that ever happened to Bruce Lee. It forced him to look at himself honestly. It forced him to evolve. It forced him to become something greater than he ever imagined. And that is the real lesson of this story. Sometimes your greatest growth comes from your worst moments. Sometimes the fights that almost break you are the fights that make you. Bruce Lee won that night in Oakland. But the real victory came in the years that followed, when he transformed his weakness into strength, when he turned his fear into fuel, when he became the most influential martial artist in human history, all because one fight showed him the truth about himself. Now, there is one more thing you need to know. Bruce Lee never talked about this fight publicly. For years, he tried to bury this story. Why? Because he was ashamed, not of losing. He did not lose, but of how long it took, of how tired he got, of how close he came to failure. Bruce Lee built his image on invincibility, on perfection, on being untouchable. The Wong Jack Man fight did not fit that image, so he kept it hidden. But the people who knew him, the people who trained with him, they all noticed the change. After 1964, Bruce Lee was different, more focused, more intense, more obsessed with efficiency. He trained harder than ever before. He pushed his body beyond what anyone thought possible. He became the Bruce Lee that the world would eventually worship. And it all traces back to that secret fight in Oakland. The fight that terrified him. The fight that transformed him. The fight that made him a legend. So what can we learn from this story? First, failure is fuel. Bruce Lee did not become great despite his struggles. He became great because of them. That fight exposed his weaknesses, and he used that knowledge to rebuild himself. Second, honesty is power. Most people lie to themselves about their weaknesses. They make excuses. They blame others. Bruce Lee looked in the mirror and told himself the truth. That honesty changed everything. Third, evolution never stops. Even after becoming the best, Bruce Lee kept improving. He never stopped questioning. He never stopped learning. He never stopped evolving. That is why he is still remembered today. Not because he was born perfect, but because he earned his greatness through struggle, through failure, through the courage to face his own weaknesses. Bruce Lee won that fight in 1964. But more importantly, he learned from it. And that made all the difference. If this story inspired you, smash that like button right now. Subscribe if you want more untold stories about legends who changed history. Comment below. What is your biggest takeaway from Bruce Lee's story? I read every single comment. And remember, be water, my friend.